So in the book, Frank Sina repeatedly talks about the importance of advances in technology, and he specifically mentions progress several times. So I was wondering about your definition of progress and whether it has positive or negative connotations, especially considering if it's only progress for the elite few and not the masses.
I think what I meant by progress and what I understand by it personally is mainly scientific progress. So first of scientific progress is the progress of understanding, advancing science. And then there's the application of science. So that for me is progress. So you cannot, I don't believe you can sort of unknow things. So progress only means that we have science, and because of the way our society is built, and maybe the way human beings are structured, that we like to find out more, and we like to find out more, and we like to use what we found out for our benefits, otherwise we would still be in the trees. So that for me is what I meant. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't come into it, it's just what we are. How we use it and what ethics we have or what morality we have, that depends on us. Some would argue that even that is a structure of our biology, but I don't go into that. Just the fact that it's knowledge, and knowledge cannot be sort of, again, erased, or you cannot go back on it. So that's what I meant by progress.
In the novel, Frank Sina leaves his home to go study in the United States. Did you write any of yourself and your experiences into the character of Frank Sina?
Well, he went there because that's what I understood. What my own experience was of studying in the United States. I suppose that, but it's not myself. And also the fact that the sort of biggest scientific discoveries are still being made there, and I suppose they will always be for a long time to come. But in terms of what I put myself into any novel is the thought that goes into it, the issues that are raised. I don't know what it means to put oneself or someone else in a novel, because as soon as you put something in, it changes, because the novel structure demands that, unless you are a really bad novelist. But as soon as I put any character, I've had person who said to me, you put my grandfather in your book. I said, the only thing I knew about your grandfather was that he was a fat shopkeeper, but other than that I knew nothing about it. But I've given him more personality. I didn't know anything about that. What he thought, his relationship with his wife or his past, that I made up because that's what fitted and that's what I needed. So when you put something in it, including yourself, it automatically enters the structure of the novel. And if the novel demands that I kill myself, then I kill myself in the books, but I'm still alive. You see what I'm saying?
There's a strong focus on, I would say even an obsession with youth in the book. Would you say that's a statement about our current society?
That of course is there, right? The society is obsessed with the youth, older people are obsessed with having lost youth, and the youth are obsessed with themselves. But it's natural, when you have kids especially, you realize that it's to see new life, new thoughts, that's the youth. And of course you have a dissatisfaction. I went to university at the time of turmoil in the United States, and that was the youth that was out in the streets demonstrating and so on. And so I'm very much in tune with that. And when I was growing up in Tanzania, we were always told, you are the future of the world. So I think that sense of the youth, having your own kids and then having been a youth, it's very much there, and we also see it in terms of the conflict. And then of course your mind tells you about youth unemployment, and it seemed to me natural, if you talk about death, you have to talk about life. If you have to talk about old age, you have to talk about young age, and therefore everything else from our own experiences comes into it. The conflicts, for example, would come into it.
While the personal generational conflict was resolved through Frank's final actions, what ideas do you have about a possible solution for the larger systemic issues of the poverty-stricken young in the novel?
You mean the poor? Well, I think that the way we sort of believe, whether in terms of successfully or not, that you have to share, not only with the young, but with the poor and with those who cannot, who do not have what others have. I think to me it's natural that you would share. So I think what Frank did was a natural thing. He just gave whatever he had to this young woman, and I said, okay, my innings are up. And I think a lot of old people could, I think, very gracefully do that instead of sort of languishing in homes and so on. So even in our own times, we have this problem and the possibility of that choice, where you say, I don't want to use up the resources, hundreds of thousands of dollars for 2 years of life and cursing all the time.
So ultimately, why did you decide to have Frank embrace his nostalgia?
Well, nostalgia was not, but he embraced it because, I don't know, but it just came to him like a cancer. He couldn't get out of it. But once he recognized it, then I don't know, by embrace you mean the conclusion. But, well, he was a wise person because he had seen so much through his patience, and he was an intelligent person and thoughtful person with a conscience. From the way he writes, you can see that when he writes about even imaginatively, have you gone to that place, the conclusion he draws from that is his. And once he realized what has happened, he goes to this sort of slum and sees the death scene. It's just in his nature that he thinks this is the best thing to do. I want to go back, even though it's not there. It's tough. I think my generation was activist in Africa, I remember. And the generation before us also was activist in India and Africa. But that, I think we live in such a privileged materialistic society. And once the United States stopped the draft, they used to draft, kids say, look like you would be drafted into the army. And then of course there were a lot of protests. Once the US stopped the draft, then everyone is comfortable and no one is going to protest too much. And there are people who do that. So we don't have that same sense of activism that was there. But once in a while it happens. I think there are still people who care. And that's a good thing, in our society we also have people who care and who speak up, who take risks.